up, everybody? Happy sermon break on
Happy
Monday.
Monday. We are so excited to be back with all of you, and it was an incredible weekend. Pastor Stephen was back in the house.
Back in the pulpit. As he says, he always takes June to just rest, refocus, writing a new book apparently too,
I know,
which is really exciting. I can't wait. I know he's been looking at it and brainstorming with it for a while now, so it's good to see it's taking place and it's brewing.
Put it in the chat if you've read any of Pastor Stephen's books. Sun Stand Still.
Sun
was
Stand Still
so
was his
good.
first one. That one, like Audacious Faith,
Yes.
Believing God for the Impossible. Such an incredible book. Greater.
Yes, that was a really
Small
good one.
steps lead to great change.
Yeah. Crash the Chatterbox.
Silencing the inner critic. Hearing
Okay.
God's voice above all else.
I haven't read that one.
Really?
No, I haven't read that one. It's probably on our bookshelf.
Do you even go to Elevation?
Oh, yes. I read a lot of books, okay, but
yes.
it's hard to fit them all
I
in
feel
all
like
the time.
I definitely feel like you've read that book. I feel like
Yeah?
that was one of the ones that was like just totally mangled because you read it outside by the pool one time.
I know, I do that with my
and
books. I do
it
that with
was-
my books. But good to see all of you on here.
Yes.
Glad that all of you are having some lunch, and wonder you're making us all want iced coffee over here.
I'm seeing iced coffees. I'm seeing ice caps. I'm seeing everything in the chat here. Yes, lots of stuff going on.
Lots of stuff.
Uh,
Charlotte says she's read Pastor's books. Yes, they are always amazing, so I can't wait for the next one. Wonder, you read Sun Stand Still. Definitely one of my favorites. Martin,
as
yes.
well.
That one, I definitely remember that one. I have
Yes.
notes on that one, so that was really great. But let's jump in and talk about the sermon a little bit. Challenge the shadow. I feel like this is going to be one of those messages that sticks with us for a long time, because I kept hearing so much feedback about how it was specific to what so many people are dealing
It was
with.
so good, and I heard a lot of feedback as well yesterday, even this morning as well. People still talking about it, and even in the commute in today,
Yeah.
and just saying like, "Oh, I had an opportunity to be the light, not have the shadow," and they're just even now when I'm walking outside and the sun's on and off shining today. It's a little cloudy, a little sunny. I don't know how it is where you are, but I'm just starting to see the shadows, and I'm like, okay, where's the shadow right now? Is it retreating? Is it going forward? What's happening? And it just reminds me to the sermon. So when you see shadows, hope it takes you back to the sermon a little bit this week.
Yeah, I love that. So practical. Before we get too deep into it, though, Pastor talked about Elijah in the beginning, and he
Had that
brought it all
bench
together
press.
in the end, but he was talking about him bench pressing and how at first Elijah thought that bench pressing wouldn't help
Wouldn't work the chest.
wouldn't work the chest, but then it did. So I'd love to know, what is something that you have found challenging but have overcome it, or saw some real change on the other side? Put it in the chat right now,
Put
and
it
I'd
in the
love to hear
chat.
from you.
Yes, bench press. I still need to get to Elijah's level. Just gonna be honest with that right now. Still gotta work on that.
That's
but
okay.
We'll get there.
Everything has its season.
Yeah. We'll get there. One thing that has been something that's been challenging but rewarding and refreshing is gardening for me. Really started getting into it last year. I feel like I've talked about this a little bit on here, but it's been really been a journey. And even recently this year, I was super impressed. Garden was starting to grow earlier in the year. Had some early frost. Tomato plants kind of took a hit. But I have some roses, and I was like, wow, they're blooming like crazy. They're flourishing. This is amazing. They're better than ever this year. And then these caterpillars got to it and just started decimating it, eating all of the leaves on it. And I was just like, man, now I need to really go and care for these things and spray it down and try to get rid of all these pests and do what I can. And it just kind of was such a big picture as well of I'm learning in that, and I'm growing and obviously taking care of a plant and trying to protect it against these pests and all that. But such a picture of man, some of the things that we encounter in life is we feel like we're blossoming, we feel like we're growing, and all of a sudden something comes out and it feels like we've been totally decimated, we've lost all of our leaves. But God the Father is coming, and he's trying to take care of us, and he's trying to guide us and nurture us back to health. So been learning a lot. That's kind of the spiritual aspect of it, but just trying to in anything I'm doing, anything I'm learning and growing in, I want to go that route.
That's good. So now you've been out taking extra care
Yes.
of the flowers to try
Yes.
to bring them.
Bringing them back to
Bring
life.
them back
They've
to
been
life.
doing good
They've
the
been
last
doing good.
couple of weeks. So we're seeing some resurrection.
I love that. I think for me, I think about horseback riding. Horseback riding is something that I've loved to do ever since I was a kid. But as I've gotten older, it's been something I've gotten back into, and I find that every time it's challenging. But I can definitely see a difference from when I started a couple years ago to where I am now. It's really something that the more that you do it, your confidence just grows. And if you
Mhm.
stop, then it's really hard to bring that confidence back. So I've been learning that the more consistent that I can be into something that is challenging, the better it's actually going to be in the long run. So sometimes I have to just kind of push past maybe how I'm
Mhm.
feeling and go out anyways so that I can really see that growth and that change that I want, because it's over time I'm just going to get stronger and
Yeah.
stronger, just like the bench press.
Yeah.
But let's dive in a little
Let's
bit.
dive in. I see some comments in the chat already, but we're gonna put some more of your takeaways in the chat. We'll shout some of them out afterwards, but we want to jump into a little bit of a clip
Yes.
before we dive into all of the comments. So put those comments in the chat. Check out this clip.
Now, you got to understand about this passage, man. This passage doesn't give us a picture of somebody who turned his face to the wall in perfect faith. For the Bible says that he began to ask God, remember all that he has done. Not all that God has done. Hezekiah said, remember, Lord, how I have walked with you faithfully in wholehearted devotion and have done what is good in your eyes. But then the next part is important because it says that he wept bitterly. Now mark this down. You can weep bitterly and still pray faithfully. You can weep bitterly and still wait expectantly. You can accept what it is, but still believe that it can be something greater. I'm looking at some people today who have accepted some things in your life as all that they can ever be. And when you accept the announcement of the shadow, you neglect the presence of the source.
So good. Such a great clip.
So amazing. I love that. It's such a powerful clip, and it's such powerful just kind of revelation on that.
I love what everyone's saying. Before we dive into that a little bit, Liv says that finding rest has been challenging for me, struggling thinking I'm not productive. Oh, Liv, this is something that I struggle with too all the time, and I think so many people can. We always feel like we're not enough or not doing enough, but I love that Pastor really challenged us that sometimes it's our belief system that we have, and learning how to, again, change that and realize that it's not truth. Carrie says he didn't turn the wall
Into perfect faith.
into perfect faith. In perfect faith. Yeah, I love that. Martin says the same God who says, let there be light, is also the author of the shadows. Yes, Martin. I thought that was so good. And that really goes along with the clip, right? He's saying that there's going to always be the shadow, but we have a choice to make that shadow move. And just kind of like I was talking about horseback riding there, for me, my word for the year is courage. And I found that all year long, we're only halfway in, that even when I feel fear, because that is something that I've struggled with and that's a shadow in my life, I've been trying to just push past it anyways and walk forward knowing that, okay, there is this shadow, it's going to be there. But the second that I say, I feel this and I'm going to walk ahead, that's when God really becomes my strength. And that's where I can really see the transformation happening. Because then the next time something that I'm afraid of comes up, I know that God had me before, I can walk in it again and really just show that courage, and more courage is growing. So this really encouraged me because it hit exactly what I'm thinking about. There's all these shadows, and it might not be fear for you. It could be worry. It could be that the feeling that I'm not enough, or it's too late for me, or I don't have enough time. Whatever those beliefs are, he really told us to just let God be our source. Let's go after God as our source and not let those shadows overtake the calling and promises that God has for us.
That's so good. I love what you even said there. I don't know if you realized it, but you were like talking about courage is my word for the year, this and that. You're like, this thing really encouraged me. And like, encourage, or put courage in you, and just how good. You have those opportunities sometimes to like really to get that influx of courage. And I think that's where we're learning right here. Is like we're inviting God in. We're inviting that courage.
Yeah.
And, I love some of the other comments too. Felicia saying, what was supposed to stay down will come back up. Man, I'm just getting trampoline vibes here. Just God's boom, it's coming back up. You're like, you know, things will happen, situations will come up, and you're like, okay, I feel down right now, I feel like whatever. But God's like, man, that's spring. Sometimes you bounce up higher than you even started to begin with. And so I love that. I love what he said too, just to kind of continue onwards about, you know, stop complaining about the things you have the power to change.
Yeah.
I thought, man, if we could get that.
That was so good.
Woo! How many times have we complained to our friends,
Yep.
to our spouse, to social media about something that we could really just have a conversation about?
Yeah.
Or we could go to the source, or we could go and like take action on. And it's like, man, it's easy to be like, walk into church, be like, man, it's looking a little bit like a mess right now. Or, hey, let me pick up the rent roffers off the ground. Or, man, this person's doing this and that. Did you talk to them? Or you just complain to your friend? And how a lot of times, even like, if you're going to go to someone, go to God first. Let's just put that out there. Like, go to him first. But go to the person, or like take action on the situation. And it reminded me of that passage in Exodus when Moses is standing with the Israelites. They escaped Egypt. They're standing at the edge of the Red Sea. And they're there, and they're like, all right, we're camped out. What's happening next? And Moses in Exodus 14, verse 13, says here, he answered the people. They were wondering what's going on. Would have been better of us to go back in Egypt than to stay in the desert. He said, Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still. And I think we love that passage. It's like, oh, I just need to rest in God's presence. I don't need to do anything. Let him work. And like, God's going to work. But here's what God said on the very next verse, verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff. Stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so the Israelites can go through on dry ground. And then he says he's going to harden their hearts. He's going to gain glory. He's going to drown all the Egyptians. And it's so such an example of what Pastor was talking about.
Yeah.
Of like, they're complaining. They're like, oh, man, it's miserable here in the desert. What are we doing here? Even Moses was like, just keep on chilling and just keep on complaining. But God's like, no, take action. Like, you have the authority to move on. And I'll still do it. I'll do my part and like drown the Egyptians. But you got to move through that Red Sea.
Yeah.
You got to like stretch out your arm and let me part the sea. And I feel like there's a lot of times, even when we feel stuck, even though we feel like we're on the edge of the Red Sea, people are coming at us, they're coming behind us. We have an opportunity to trust God in faith and say, I'm going to take a step. I'm going to stretch my hand over this and declare God will come through.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage you today, this week, do that.
Yeah.
Take that step of faith, make that change. And I love even what he said. I don't know if you want to go to the action step or if you want to jump in here. But he's talked about going back to in the gym.
Yeah.
No challenge, no change.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage everyone today. Your action step coming out of this, like, make sure.
Yeah.
That if there's a challenge, there's gonna be some change.
Yeah.
And God wants to take you further. He wants to move you forward. And so step into that challenge with boldness, with authority. We talked about the Sun Stands Still book from Pastor Stephen. It's all about audacious faith.
Yeah.
I feel like we live a little bit like apathetic a little bit nowadays, and like a little bit of I forget what that quote was. Maybe someone in the chat will hit me up with it. But when Pastor Stephen was like, we're calling it acceptance, but really it's apathy, I think is what he said. Man, we gotta get audacious again.
I love just with this, like, things can change. They really can. Pastor said that multiple times. And that's been such a testimony in my own life. And I feel like through volunteering at the church, being part of an e-group, getting around community, those are all ways that you have people that help you change. Yeah. And you're in an environment where change is possible. And the more that we press into Christ and who he is, the more that we really can change. Yeah. That is the gospel, right? Yeah. Transforming really from the inside out, getting a new heart in us, one that looks more like Jesus. And I know that that's what we all want, right? We want to radiate his light. We want to be like who he is. So believe that that's possible. His spirit is so alive and in you, so you have that power to change and to become the person that God has always, always called you to be. So I love it. We have so many exciting things coming up in this next season. Love Week, have to shout it out, July 22nd
Put some
to
green
29th.
hearts in the chat. Green hearts
It's
in the
coming. We are less than 2 weeks away, and we still have so many events available for you to jump into. So make sure you check out elevationoutreach.org and sign up for an event, or come see us on the campus this weekend. We'll sign you up for the perfect event. We're going to be highlighting some events for you, some gardening events, and we'll let you know what areas have the most need.
Yes, lots of events. And don't miss this opportunity as well. Maybe there's been someone that you've been praying about and trying to invite to church, has been a little hesitant to come out or kind of making up excuses. There's always something that they're busy doing on a Sunday morning. This is an opportunity to just be like, hey, I'm serving at this event. Would you want to come out and, paint with me, or serve a meal with me, or garden with me? So many great events that you can invite someone out to, and I found them, they're way more open to coming out to that.
Yes.
And then meeting some of our awesome fellow elevators.
Yes.
So speaking of, Elevation family, we have LB Pastor Larry Bry. He was actually on Summer Break a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Check it out if you
Check
haven't
it out
yet.
if you didn't.
Go back in the archive. He is up with our friends at the River Worship over in Whitby.
Tomorrow night,
Tuesday night. So if you are in the area or want to make the drive across, 7:30 p.m. start time at 300 Water Street in Whitby. Same place we're going to be launching the campus in just about a month and a bit. So definitely head on over there. Let us know. Send us a DM or something like that. Let us know that you're coming. Love to include you in a little section there. Shout Pastor LB down. I know he's going to be bringing a word. So it's always good to have some of our Elevation fam in the city. And speaking of Elevation Toronto East,
it's launching
August 13th. Get ready. Come on, let's get some celebration. Clap hands.
We cannot wait. The countdown is on until we launch the second location.
Yes.
So if you want to be a part of it, if you want to get in on the ground floor and help us build it, join our launch team. It is just the best way to get the vision, the culture, and everything that we're trying to do, because we really believe that there are so many people on that side of the city that need Christ, and that's what we want to show them through this new location. So if you want to be a part of that, making a difference in people's lives, sign up. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, have a great week, everyone.
God bless.
We can't wait to see you either tomorrow night or on Sunday or back here next week. Have a blessed day.